All right. How can I help you, boss?
I'm looking for a tux.
You got it. When's the wedding?
It's not a wedding. My wife and I were renewing our vows.
That's what I like to hear. How's about we get you measured?
Yeah. Sure. You killed my boy. Who told you to do it?
Santa.
Santa! Where can I find this Santa?
You don't have to do that. Come on.
In the snowy mountain town of Kehoe, Colorado, Nels Coxman drives a snowplow for a living. One evening, he returns home with his son, Kyle. His wife, Grace, is in the kitchen cooking dinner. While they eat, Grace reminds Nels about the upcoming award event and tells him to prepare a good speech. She helps him pick out clothes, and later that night, Nels is honored as Kehoe's Citizen of the Year for his service. Meanwhile, over at the local airport where Kyle works as a cargo handler, things take a dark turn. A group of armed men shows up without warning. They grab Kyle and force him into a van. Inside, his co-worker Dante is already tied up, looking terrified. The men inject Kyle with a huge dose of heroin. As they drive off, Dante quietly breaks the plastic hand grab near the car door, then suddenly jumps out of the moving van. One of the kidnappers fires at him, but Dante escapes into the dark. Later, the gang dumps Kyle's body in a public place, making it look like he simply passed out from drugs. Back in town, Grace finds Nels, clearly in shock. Together, they rush to the mortuary, where they're told that Kyle has died of a heroin overdose. Nels is stunned. He knows Kyle never used drugs.
Excuse me, Kyle wasn't a druggie.
Sorry, but all the parents say that.
Grace, overwhelmed, says maybe they failed to notice something. With no answers and heavy hearts, they go ahead with the funeral. We're then introduced to Trevor, a sharp-suited drug lord everyone calls Viking. He notices that his young son, Ryan, has a black eye. Viking, with his twisted version of parenting, tells the boy to hit the bully back. But Ryan calmly says,
"It's not a very good idea, because then I'll be as stupid as he is."
While this plays out, Viking is informed that Dante, the man who escaped during Kyle's abduction, managed to get away. Meanwhile, Nels is falling apart. He walks into his storage shed, grabs a rifle, and quietly prepares to take his own life. But what he doesn't know is that Dante, wounded and bloody, is already hiding in the shed. Just as Nels puts the barrel in his mouth, Dante stops him. Nels drags him out and demands answers. Dante insists that Kyle didn't know anything and had nothing to do with it. He explains how he himself was the reason things went wrong. He had messed up a job for Viking's men, losing a bag of cocaine, and both he and Kyle got taken because of it. He then gives Nels a name, Speedo, one of the guys involved in Kyle's death. Nels tracks Speedo down to a nightclub. After waiting, Speedo is called over and walks with Nels into an elevator. Nels asks if he knows Dante. Speedo shrugs it off. Then Nels brings up Kyle. Again, Speedo pretends not to know. But the moment Nels asks who ordered Kyle's murder, Speedo changes his tone and pulls out a gun, threatening him. That's a mistake. While Speedo's distracted, Nels jumps him and beats him down inside the elevator. He drags the bloodied man to the back of a van, locks the doors, and starts going through his phone. He demands names. Speedo, now scared, says he was just following orders from someone named Limbo. Nels finds Limbo's picture in the phone, confirms it's the right guy, and then calmly strangles Speedo to death. He checks to make sure there's no movement, then gets to work. Later, he wraps the body tightly in chicken wire and dumps it over a gorge waterfall, just like he read in a crime novel. When Nels gets back home, Grace is still there, but she doesn't say a word to him. The next morning, Viking hears that Speedo has gone missing. He doesn't worry too much and figures the guy will turn up. On the way to drop Ryan at school, he finds out that his man Dexter packed cookies in the kid's lunchbox. Viking gets irritated. He's strict about Ryan's diet and wants everything controlled, even the snacks. Elsewhere in town, Officer Kim Dash, a newcomer to Kehoe's police department, is out on patrol with her partner, Gip. Gip points out Nels on the street and tells her he was recently awarded Citizen of the Year. When they catch a group of teens smoking weed, Kim wants to take them in, but Gip tells her to let it go. Not a big deal here, he says. Back at home, the silence between Grace and Nels has only grown colder. That morning, Nels saws off the barrel of his rifle so it can fit inside his coat. He's ready to take out the next man on the list, Limbo. He tracks Limbo to a wedding dress shop where he works. The moment Nels walks in, Limbo knows why he's there. He grabs a gun and fires, but Nels dodges and tackles him. On the floor, Limbo confesses. He says he was ordered to kill both Kyle and Dante by another enforcer, someone named Santa. He tells Nels that Santa works at the airport and even gives a description. Without another word, Nels shoots Limbo dead. Later, he takes the body, wraps it up like the others, and dumps it into the gorge. Back home, Grace tries to start a conversation, asking Nels what Kyle's favorite things were. Bands, hobbies, anything. But Nels doesn't have the answers. She looks at him, clearly disappointed, and walks away. Meanwhile, Viking meets up with his ex-wife, Aya. They're trying to figure out how to split time with Ryan. Viking hands her a strict diet chart for the boy. Aya reads it.
Breakfast, grass-fed beef, asparagus, cashews. Lunch the same, dinner the same.
Yeah, that's on Mondays. Tuesday it rotates. Chicken, broccoli, and almonds.
For breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You want our son to eat the same thing 3 times a day.
You keep it simple in the gut, you get to live a long life.
Not long after, Viking gets word that Limbo is also missing. Now he's starting to lose his cool. Later, at home, his enforcer Mustang sits with young Ryan, who suddenly starts talking about classical music, listing composers and favorite pieces. Even Mustang looks surprised. At the airport, Nels spots Santa working on his car. Once Santa drives off, Nels quietly follows him onto a snow-covered road. Santa notices the truck behind him and gets suspicious. But before he can react, the truck suddenly disappears down another path. Just as he relaxes, it reappears, this time directly in front of him, blocking the road. Nels gets out and walks up to Santa's window.
There's not enough room to pass. I was wondering if you'd back down to the turnoff.
Any chance you could back up?
It's between you and me, right?
Me, you, and Frosty.
Sure.
He pulls him out and starts hitting him, trying to get information. But even after a few punches, Santa insists he knows nothing and tells Nels he's wasting his time. They both laugh for a moment, tired and cold in the middle of nowhere, until Nels says he's done hitting him. Then he calmly shoots Santa in the head. Inside Santa's car, Nels finds a stash of cocaine. He dumps it, then uses his plow to shove the entire car off the road. Santa's body joins the others, Speedo and Limbo, at the bottom of the gorge. When Nels returns home, he finds that Grace has left. She's packed up and left behind only a blank sheet of paper. Nels then goes to visit his older brother, Brock. Years ago, Brock was involved in the criminal world. Now he lives a quiet life with his Thai wife, who immediately dislikes Nels and assumes he's part of Brock's old business. Nels tells Brock about Kyle and finds out what Kyle and Dante had gotten mixed up in. He tells Nels the name Viking, a dangerous man running a drug ring out of Denver. Nels calmly says he's already killed 3 of Viking's men. Brock is stunned. He never thought his quiet little brother was capable of that. Meanwhile, Viking is trying to figure out who's behind his men's disappearance. He suspects the native gang on the nearby reservation. Their leader, White Bull, once had a peace deal with Viking's father, sealed with a shark tooth as a gift. But that was a long time ago. Now Viking thinks White Bull's crew is behind the attacks. To send a message, he orders 2 of his men to find White Bull's son, Baby Hawk. The men catch Baby Hawk outside the airport, beat him up badly, and drag him away. But even under pressure, Baby Hawk doesn't say a word because he doesn't know anything. Viking kills him anyway. Later, Baby Hawk's body is found hanging from a sign near the reservation, along with the shark tooth Viking's father once accepted as a peace offering. At the funeral, White Bull stands over his only son's grave. He doesn't speak, but now it's clear. He wants revenge. Detective Kim finds out that the boy who was killed Baby Hawk was White Bull's son. She starts to suspect there's a gang war brewing between Viking's crew and White Bull's people. She brings it up to her captain, but he brushes it off. Kim, though, isn't convinced. She feels like it's turning into a full-blown territory dispute. Meanwhile, Nels goes back to visit Brock for help. Since Brock used to run with Viking's father under the gang name Wingman, he knows the ins and outs of that world. Nels wants to know how to take Viking out. Brock gives him a suggestion. Hire a hitman called the Eskimo. He explains how it works. Nels has to pick the guy up from the train station, take him to a motel, and pay him half the money up front. Nels does exactly that. But the Eskimo starts getting suspicious. He tells Nels that only cops pay half up front. Real deals usually give 2/3. He doesn't trust him. After checking Coxman's ID, he finally agrees. Later, instead of doing the job, the Eskimo drives to Viking's place and tells him straight up, someone paid him $90,000 to kill him. Viking thinks it's the Indians. The Eskimo says he'll give up the client's name for another $90,000. Viking agrees and transfers the money. The Eskimo gives him the name, Coxman. But when Viking hears the name, he thinks of Brock, the man they used to know as Wingman. He assumes the hit was sent by him. Viking isn't happy about any of this. He's especially annoyed that the Eskimo betrayed the person who paid him. That, in his eyes, breaks all professional rules.
Hey, can I ask 2 questions, if I may?
Shoot.
Why do they call you the Eskimo?
Any nigga crazy enough to move up to snow country has gotta be a fucking Eskimo. Second question.
Who taught you your ethics? You made a deal. You didn't honor that deal.
So, Viking orders his men to kill the Eskimo. Later, Mustang and Dexter dump the body. While doing it, they suddenly start kissing. It's clear now they're a couple. Back at home, Nels realizes something's wrong. He hasn't heard back from the Eskimo, which means Viking is still alive. Viking, along with 2 of his men, goes straight to Brock's house. They pick him up, still thinking he's the one behind the hit. Brock doesn't resist. He already knows what's coming, and with his cancer getting worse, he's not afraid of dying. During the ride, he takes full responsibility. He tells Viking he was the one who hired the hitman and stole the cocaine. Viking, though suspicious, respects how calmly Brock owns up to everything. Moments later, they execute him. Later, Nels visits Brock's grave. Not far behind, Brock's Thai wife shows up. She spits on the headstone, grabs her luggage, and walks away for good. Meanwhile, Kim continues digging into the case. After talking to people around town, she starts putting things together and begins to link names connected to both Viking's crew and White Bull's gang. Nels visits both graves, Kyle's and Brock's. After a moment of silence, he gets back in his truck and drives off, heading straight toward Viking's house. On the way, he spots a school sticker on Viking's front door, giving away which school Ryan attends. At the same time, Viking meets with his men to figure out how to fix the mess with White Bull. He knows now that killing Baby Hawk was a mistake. Dexter makes a joke about the situation, not realizing how tense things are.
Yeah, maybe we should apologize.
Yeah?
We send them a short note.
Hey, and what does this, short note say?
I don't know, how about, sorry about Tonto, won't happen again.
Viking snaps and shoots him dead on the spot. Mustang, who had been quietly watching, stays still. He doesn't react, but inside, he's clearly broken. Dexter was his partner. Viking decides to blame Dexter for Baby Hawk's murder. He orders his men to cut off Dexter's head and deliver it to White Bull as a peace offering. His men do as told. When the messenger arrives at the reservation, he tells White Bull that Dexter was responsible. White Bull accepts the head but says it isn't enough. He wants a son for a son. Then, without warning, he shoots the messenger dead too. Back in town, Kim hears that Dante has died and decides to check in on Nels. She goes to meet him, thinking maybe he doesn't know yet. She starts asking questions, but Nels plays it safe and acts like he doesn't know anything. Meanwhile, Nels is already on the move. He reaches Ryan's school just as White Bull's men are preparing to snatch the boy. Nels notices them and quickly acts, posing as someone sent by Ryan's parents, and picks Ryan up calmly. The moment he leaves, White Bull's men spot him and follow. Nels sees them in his rearview mirror and speeds up. The chase weaves through town streets, but he gets a lucky break when a school bus pulls out and blocks their path. Nels gets away. The men report back to White Bull, swearing they'll catch the boy soon. Just then, the dead messenger's phone starts ringing. One of them answers and learns he's been killed. Without saying much, they hang up and get back to the hunt. Viking finds out that Ryan has been taken, and it hits him hard. Just then, Aya shows up at his place. She's furious, thinking Viking took Ryan from her, especially since it's her week to have custody. Viking snaps and tries to hit her, but she quickly grabs him by the crotch, making him freeze in pain right in front of his crew. It's humiliating. She tells him she'll wait 24 hours, and if Ryan isn't returned, she's calling the police. Viking, still in pain, promises he'll handle it. Meanwhile, Nels brings Ryan back to his place and offers him a seat while he cooks dinner. The boy's calm. He's not afraid. Nels treats him gently, and Ryan, being naturally polite and sharp, responds well. Later that night, Nels puts him to bed. Before sleeping, Ryan asks for a bedtime story. Nels tells him one, and the two start bonding, more than Ryan ever did with his own father. Ryan finds out Nels drives a snowplow and gets excited.
I thought you were a kidnapper.
Not all the time. You were going to sleep.
Have you heard of the Stockholm syndrome?
The next morning, Viking's men find the school janitor who saw Ryan being picked up. The janitor names Nels. Viking pretends like he'll get paid for the tip, but instead, the men shoot him dead. Elsewhere, White Bull's crew takes a break from the bloodshed. Some go skiing, others paraglide, relaxing before the next fight. Back at the snowplow garage, Nels gets his gun ready and calls Viking, telling him to meet him later. But Viking and his men are already heading to his house, hoping to catch him there. They break in and find Ryan's school bag, but Nels isn't there. He's actually out driving with Ryan. On the road, Nels runs into Detectives Dash and Jip. They tell him they saw some suspicious cars around his place. Viking's crew eventually figure out where Nels works and head to the snowplow company, but Mustang stays behind. Still grieving Dexter's death, he betrays Viking and contacts White Bull's men, telling them exactly where to find him. Nels returns to the company with Ryan and quickly hides him in a safe spot. He gives Ryan headphones and tells him to stay there, no matter what. Soon after, Viking and his men arrive at the snowplow garage. Nels finds a hiding spot, waiting for the right moment to take a shot. But before he can get into position, one of Viking's men spots him and drags him out at gunpoint. Viking walks up and punches him, demanding to know where Ryan is.
Where is my son?
Nels doesn't answer. Instead, he calmly says,
You don't deserve your son.
Right then, White Bull and his crew arrive. Gunfire breaks out immediately. A shootout erupts between the two gangs while Nels slips away into cover. Viking tries to escape in his car, but Nels gets behind the controls of a snowplow, cuts down a tree, and drives it straight into Viking's vehicle, pinning him in place. Viking can't move. White Bull walks up and shoots him in the chest, leaving him bleeding and helpless. Nels starts driving away, but White Bull climbs into the snowplow, keeping him at gunpoint. The two drive off together. Later that night, officers Kim and Gip arrive at the scene. Viking is still barely alive. Gip finds him, but just moments later, he dies. Meanwhile, Ryan climbs into another snowplow and, without hesitation, starts driving it down the road. Kim calls it in while they prepare to follow him. Back in the main truck, Nels keeps plowing snow like it's any other day. White Bull watches him closely, but eventually lowers his gun, realizing Nels isn't an enemy, just a father, like him, who's already lost too much. The two continue down the snowy road. Suddenly, in the sky above, one of White Bull's men, out paragliding, accidentally glides right into the path of the moving plow. He gets shredded instantly. Well, that's the end of this story. How did you like this film? Let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.